Should we start?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Soumya Paliwal, and I'm happy to welcome you to the session on behalf of Including You team. The event is also the closing finale of the current edition of the Women for Women program by Expat Spouses Initiative and the Living In program from the city of Eindhoven. And I'm glad to say that I'm one of the international who've been living here for long, but there's been a very big learning growth curve for me. And today with us, we have Corinne from Edufax, and it's a very interesting topic because it's about how innovatively you hire and build your international teams. And Edufax is the market leader in education global services for children. And they have long worked on attracting local international talent to support their growth in the global market. And we are very excited to have you, Corinne, with us. So Corinne began her career as an educator with the Teach for America, and she is very passionate about diversity and inclusion and community building. And she has a varied experience in education sector, and she has found her home at Edufax, and we are glad to have her here. And with this, I'll give the floor to you, Corinne.
Super. Thanks a lot, Soumya. I really appreciate it. Thanks for that nice introduction. I won't waste your time with too many more facts about me, but I'm really excited to be here, and it's just been a really inspiring day, and it's nice to be able to take a part in it. So
we're super happy you're here. And with this, I'll switch off my camera and I'll let you go ahead with it. Yeah.
Great. And I'll share my screen so that you are able to see our slides. Let's see. Can everyone view now, Soumya? I'm not sure.
It's perfect.
It's working? Super. Yeah. All right. There's me. So what I would like to do today is start with a story. Edufax began in 1992 with an educator who saw a problem, and he wanted to fix that problem. As a teacher, many of his Dutch students were going abroad with their parents and then coming back home without the language skills they needed to go back into local Dutch schools. So with a fax machine, yes, a fax machine, and a lot of love, our founders started a business to keep Dutch children on track, no matter where their parents took them. During that time, our team would fax Dutch reading and writing instruction back and forth with Dutch families all over the world. Sometimes these families even had to buy a fax machine in the Netherlands and take that with them, because in those years it wasn't always possible to find a fax machine in the countries they were going to go. But when the children were coming back to the Netherlands, having worked with Edufax, they were ready to go to school. In due time, we figured out that we could make an even bigger impact and, of course, found the internet. And we decided to build our services not only for Dutch families, but also for families all over the world. Thus, our Global Advice business unit was born. We wanted to build a team of international educational consultants who could support families and their employers to long-range plan for children involved in an assignment. And because our goal was global, we needed people who would have the empathy to understand what a family goes through when they leave their home country, who could speak their language in a difficult situation, who could navigate their educational systems and provide the assurance needed to make good decisions for kids. So we thought, what better people to recruit than the people who've lived through this themselves? Today, our team consists of people from 9 different countries who empower Edufax to deliver services to all of our clients, no matter where they come from and no matter where they go. And as research shows, our hunch was right. Growing our team with representatives of different genders, races, and nationalities has been fundamental for us to grow our company's business potential. So how do we do this? I'm going to share with you a mix of general practices and concrete examples of what we do at Edufax that you can bring back to your own organization. We're definitely not perfect and we're still learning, but there are a few things that have been really important for us along the way. The first is our recruitment and hiring process. At Edufax, we believe in getting to know who a candidate is and what skills they bring to the table. We don't base our hiring decisions on basic CV interview processes alone, and part of that is because we really just simply can't. And in order to make sure that this happens for our global advice team, we challenge our candidates to show how they might perform on the job, not by simulating experiences during the interview that allow them to show their competencies. Finally, we recognize that diversity is not inclusion, and simply putting people from all over the world in the same building doesn't automatically mean that we maximize the potential of that team. So there are several practices that we've incorporated into our organization to work towards benefiting from the added value of having international people in-house. So to begin, the number one thing you can do for recruiting a diverse team is actually quite obvious, but it can also be the most difficult. And that's recognizing our own biases and blind spots when we're making a judgment about a candidate. We have the tendency to be impressed by universities and previous role titles and relationships to large organizations, which we have deemed impressive based on our own limited perspectives and experiences. This isn't to discredit the incredible amount of work and perseverance it takes to make it into these prestigious places, but it is to point out that when we put too much weight on where someone has developed their career, we tend to hold the experiences of others to our own values. And this can lead us to missing out on really talented individuals and decreasing diversity on our team. So developing this mindset takes a lot more than a quick fix list, as we all know. But there are simple things that you can consciously do to move away from these distorted thinking patterns to diversify your team from go. The first of those is to rethink the way we write job descriptions. Certain language can discourage candidates from applying in the first place. A 2019 LinkedIn study on language found job postings that use words like aggressive were far less appealing to female applicants. So when we write job postings at Edufax, we really try to use language that's open, that emphasizes the possibilities for work-life balance and provides room for creativity and for growth. Secondly, when applicants apply, depending upon the role, we request them to complete a business model canvas for themselves. A business model canvas is simply a tool used to quickly and clearly define the concept of a new business idea. I think most of us have seen this format floating around the internet and in our offices already. But having candidates to apply the structure to themselves actually allows us to really understand how they view their possible value within our company. It also lets us to quickly get to know their personality and approaches to problem solving and measuring and achieving goals. Finally, because of this approach, the questions we ask during the interview process are less about where did you work, who do you know, what did you achieve there, and are more future focused. We try to ask questions like, how do you overcome challenging situations? What influences the way you make decisions? And in what ways can you add value to the overall growth and development of our organization? Our use of these structures can always be improved. But by creating several pathways that allow us to measure the value of a candidate beyond our own personal perspectives, we're really working to growing the way we are attracting diverse talent to our organization. So I want to talk to you a bit more about potential-based decision-making. So during our interview process, especially as it relates to hiring our consultants, candidates will undergo a skills assessment. And this skills assessment is aligned to actual challenges and real-life situations they face while working at Edufax. There are several reasons why we do this, and the first is actually by default. An Edufax consultant skill set is quite specific. There are no university training programs. There are very few companies who do the same work. And its interdisciplinary nature, it's a cross-section of writing skills, educational knowledge, political awareness, just to name a few things. It means that it's really difficult for us to identify a strong candidate based on their experience doing something similar before, simply because they just haven't. So even if you're hiring for more straightforward roles within your organization, creating opportunities for candidates to demonstrate their competencies provides you with the ability to review a candidate based on observational data, not solely on your interviewer's perceptions, biases, and own personal values. In the assessment, consultants are required to show their thinking process, problem-solving skills, client relationship and management skills, and writing capabilities, just to name a few. And while that gives us a concrete understanding of their potential performance, it also gives the candidate the possibility to ask themselves, is this how I really want to spend 36 to 40 hours of my life each week? Finally, it allows us to really preemptively identify a candidate's strengths and areas for growth, even before the onboarding process begins. Managers can then use these assessments to fill gaps in their own team and also match the new candidate to the correct coaches as needed. So the use of assessment in hiring practice is not simply good hiring practice, but it's also for us has been a key lever in creating a level playing field and opening the possibility for us to hire candidates with a wider range of expertise and a wider range of experience. So after hiring is complete, we all know that inclusion goes beyond simply putting a diverse group of people in a building together. It also means valuing their perspectives, experiences, and skills, and using their differences to challenge and grow the organization. So there are 5 main ways that we do this at Edufax. The first is through education. We've hosted evening events called Excellent Evenings, and it's a silly name, but it does work. And this is where international and local team members have the opportunity to participate in workshops to learn more about best practices of inclusivity and the benefits of that. These events are often team member led or initiated, and it allows us to share our own experiences and expertise in a way that helps build a culture of trust and safety and empowerment on our team. I think the biggest impact of these evenings for me is the way in which I see my colleagues in the office have non-management driven, very organic conversations about inclusion topics. It's really rare that I have a day in the office where I haven't been recommended a book or taken part in a discussion about these things. And we're always trying to look at how can we do better? And I really think that this has a lot to do with just these moments where we come together and have the time to, in a structured way, really discuss this topic. The second is inclusive leadership. This means that we try to create an environment where people do not look, talk, or think like us. And this allows us to approach our current service offerings with new insights and challenge our beliefs on both the individual and organizational level. So a simply daily example of this at Edufax might be my Brazilian colleague, who is a client executive, collaborating with our Polish colleague to use his insights in supporting a client who has an upcoming group move to Warsaw. On a higher level, our board recently reviewed and approved an initiative by a team member who is an adult third culture kid herself. Having lived cross-culturally for much of her childhood, she will tell you that she is a Dutch Bolivian lady who belongs wherever she is understood. Her experiences as a third culture kid have driven her to innovate the ways in which we support internationally mobile children, with many of whom she can easily connect to, having lived through several different assignments with her own parents. I really love this example because it shows how our board has pulled up a chair to the table and given our team the space to make decisions that not only improve how we work together in our team, but also how we work for the clients and the families that we serve. The third is flexibility. A 2020 McKinsey survey found that the #1 value of women in the workplace is flexibility. And with the onset and duration of the pandemic, there have been numerous ways in which we've all learned that flexibility is a necessary ask from our teams. But what about our employers? I heard in the earlier session where I think it was Justin was talking about the power of flexible work hours, and flexible working hours, and in that kind of extends within Edufax to flexible public holidays, is a really simple way that we've made working in the Netherlands as an international possible. So my colleague from India might trade Easter weekend in to celebrate Diwali, and I can trade King's Day in for my beloved Thanksgiving. The same flexibility that allows me more time to go home to the United States also allows my colleagues to pick up kids early from school or to have the afternoon off to spend time with a spouse who's been working night shifts. So for me, flexibility really makes a valuable statement. It says my company honors who I am and what I need as a person, and trusts me to get my work done in a way that's conducive to my well-being. The fourth is language. So during our onboarding process, new hires receive an Edufax glossary. This is an ongoing document of all the technical terms and acronyms we use in our day-to-day work. We often joke that we speak our own language at Edufax, and in my first weeks there, I have to admit it was kind of difficult to get on board. But as time progressed, I really have seen the value of it, and that goes far beyond efficient communication. It also means that despite the 10 plus languages that we speak on our staff, our common vocabulary fosters a greater sense of belonging within our team. And that's not just backed by our own experience. There's a study, a 2005 Finnish study, that points out that mutual experiences, secret inside jokes, our language creates trust, which can also promote deeper relationships. So a common language, while it helps us to work faster and more clearly, it also helps us to become closer together in the process. The last thing that I want to talk about is building a sense of belonging, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this today. There was another study by Culture Amp that found that the biggest influencing factor on a person's workplace commitment, their motivation, their pride, their willingness to recommend their job to another person was actually a sense of belonging. And this study points out that people who feel they belong perform better, become more willing to challenge themselves, and are more resilient to change. So there's so many benefits to building a sense of family within your organization. In order to achieve this, I think what's also really great about this is that the actions to take can be really simple. So some of the ways we do this at Edufax are just by structuring in ways for people to form social bonds with each other. This can look like providing a shared hot lunch in our lunch pre-pandemic, hosting virtual happy hours. We have summer barbecues. Sometimes we'll just bring in treats to share. We'll have team outings, or just simply having a regularly scheduled coffee break. These are all really simple, relatively low-cost efforts that can go really far. Coaching mentors are another way in which we foster belonging within Edufax. So when we have a new person come in, they're assigned a mentor or a coach to help them to get used to our way of working, all of the systems, how to open the door to the office, those sorts of things. We also provide mentors or coaches when someone is struggling to find ways to show their strengths at work. This allows this kind of peer-to-peer sense of we're all in this together, really helps us to know that you're not alone. Finally, a third way that we do this is to purposefully build project teams, which put colleagues who have been with the company for a long time with colleagues who are newer to the company. This really helps new colleagues not to feel like complete outsiders, and it also can help the people who have been there a long time to adapt to and cope with organizational changes. It just makes people feel more safe and feel that they're all working in one accord. So several studies have also shown that proximity and personal interactions help people to form favorable views of one another, even if they didn't have those views to begin with. And this makes a lot of sense, I think. So the more we get to know each other, the better we're able to work together and understand one another. So belonging is not just a call for kumbaya and holding hands in a circle, but it's also just simply good business practice. So as I said, we're not perfect, and we've really started small at Edufax, and we also know that there is still a lot of work to be done. So I would really love to hear from you and connect on how we can do this together. As you can see, my phone number is listed here, my email address, my LinkedIn, and our company website. So if you would like to get in touch, I would really be happy to continue the conversation. Thanks a lot for listening, and I think we can move on to some questions now. I'll stop sharing my slides so you can see me again.
Thanks, Corinne. That was great. And
trying to find my video.
there is probably somewhere in the square you'll find
I see.
Yeah,
you see me again. Yeah, great.
So that was really great, and me myself personally is a big fan of the policies and the strategies that Edufax has been practicing, because I think it's a very contemporary way of recruitment, looking at recruitment, and it helps, especially when you are a relocated international. It specifically helps because you have so much to give to the company, but sometimes the companies are focused in a rigid job description or the skill set, and you miss the opportunity there. So yeah. I would say Edufax definitely is a role model for other companies in the region. And we have some questions coming here. So there's one question which is like, if you have a decision making, how do you make a decision making if you what are your biases when you land up in an interview? Do you think that plays any big role? Biases?
Personal or just in general? Is that the question?
We would say it's in general, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a lot, right? So we bring always our own experience and what we think is important. I think, you know, if I look at, I come from the United States and I moved to Europe and different places in Europe, I think over 8 years ago. And when I moved here, I had the feeling, having worked with Teach for America, which is a quite well-known organization in the US, that, this would be something that I should put on my resume and talk about. But when I started to apply to jobs here, a lot of people didn't know about Teach for America or know anything about that. So I think, you know, especially if we're hiring people who have done really amazing things in their own countries and really incredible things, we just don't know that. So some of the things that you can watch out for are, you know, trying to focus on where did that person attend university, or oh, I see that they work for this large multinational. People who come from small, medium companies are also very talented. So I think just checking ourselves of what do we value, what do we find from our own experience that we value, and trying to really look deeper and beyond that and see what skills do we value, what can this person really do for our organization.
Yeah, that's an interesting point there. And now specifically talking about Edufax, so do you think the diversity or this inclusion approach is like, do you have a task force for it, or you think it's organic within the culture of Edufax?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, as I was kind of preparing for this week, I started to think about that quite a lot. So it has been very organic for us in a lot of ways. We're a small company, so we don't have necessarily a task force. Having said that, though, I do really see the benefit of putting something that's more structured in place, because I think a lot of the things that we do now and a lot of the things that I talked about are efforts that you can make on a very high level and kind of simple, quick fix sort of things. But there's a lot more to that and there's a lot more challenging your mindsets and deeper conversations that can be had within an organization to really help people to grow and push your inclusion approach to the next level.
Yeah, and I also feel it becomes if it's like a bottom up or top down, it becomes a second nature of the company and the employees.
Yeah.
And the latest discussion that's happening is what whatever conversation you do in your office boardroom, you also take it back home. So it's just not the workplace, but you also take the diversity and inclusion mindset back home as well, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's also something for us to think about, especially as businesses. As a business, you have a bottom line to make a profit, to grow, and that's important. But I think there are much higher goals that we have as a business and that everyone brings to their own business. And a lot of those goals really circle around how can we make the world a better place. And I think you can't, Edufax, especially for Edufax, we can't sit here and say that we're here to help children and we're here to help families and not walk the walk ourselves within our office. So.
Yeah, and now we go back to a personal question. So
yeah.
you worked in US, you're working here. So how do you feel this contemporary talent management approach that Edufax has as an employee? How do you think it brings value to you?
Yeah, I think on a really personal level, I think for me, I talked about I come from the United States and I've tried to work my way into kind of the European market. And I think what's been really great for me at Edufax is that Edufax really looks at what skills do I have. They look into potential. And I think that's really important to not put someone in a box. And to give someone a chance. And I think Edufax has really done that. And because we've done that, we've gotten really, really talented, really intelligent, and really smart people on board that challenge each other on a regular basis. So for me, it's been a really nice experience to know that someone looks at who I am, not just because, oh, we can't hire you because of the visa and blah, 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 but really looks at, okay, what is it that you can do for our organization, and bases the decision on that.
Yeah, and is it also safe to say that it also helps in dealing with multiple clients, because you already have a very diverse employers? So when you're handling all the clients all across the globe, then it helps.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, if we look at the families that we support, we have families who I think we support families in over 60 countries at this point, actually. And so it wouldn't make sense for us to not be able to provide those families access to people who understand their language, people who understand their educational systems. And we also really try to hire based on look at what is their own international experience. It's really important for us that people can empathize with what our families and what our clients are trying to help these families go through.
Yeah, interesting. As I said, it's one of the most looked at company, and I think all the internationals and all the viewers who are watching us, they will probably for sure go check it, and if there are any job openings in Edufax available or not, because it definitely opens the door for all of us at the moment. Yeah. So with this, just one last thing, do you have any message as an Edufax to the other companies in the region? Because as I said, you guys are a great role model.
Yeah, I think to be honest, not even from a role model perspective, but we're always really happy to learn and to grow from other people. And we really like the possibilities for partnership. So if I were to give a message, it would be the doors are wide open and we're really happy to work together and see what it is that we can do, to push this initiative forward.
That's great. So it's about time, and I think, that was wonderful.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was really nice.
Yeah, so I would just add to it that it's also about that there's a larger pool of candidates available if you just open up opportunities for them, yeah. And it also works great for the employer brand, because you are a more diverse and more inclusive organization, not just by the terms but by action.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, super. Thanks a lot, Samya. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks to you. It was a great session, and we'll be in touch. And have a nice day and enjoy the session. And
Yeah, thank you
everybody,
everyone who's watching.